everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Strike Noise, your weekly baseball history podcast. I'm half of the show. My name is Jeff. The other 0.5 part of the show is Mark A. Johnston from Seattle. Mark, how you doing,
You're mixing fractions and
yeah,
decimals.
I know. Yeah, I wanted to see how good our listeners were at math, because that was something that I always sucked at, is fractions in general, but when they give you a fraction and a decimal and they said, hey, what's the answer?
Right. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
I don't even want to try.
Our books, I went to, high school and junior high in Utah. A lot of our math books in the back had the even answers to all the questions. Did you?
Yes.
I always thought that was weird. I knew I was going to get 50% right off the bat.
Guaranteed. And all you had to do from that point to pass was just get another.
Yeah, if you run into a couple of correct answers, you're going to.
And you make a guess.
Well, I mean, this is not a math podcast, so we will move on from there.
Good thing, too.
Yeah, I don't know why that just struck me, but I wanted to get that out there in the universe. But Mark, let's go ahead and let's jump right into some BP. I just told you before we recorded, we had our first regular season game, so I'm a little sore today, so I'm going to need to stretch out a little bit. Also, Mark, this is our first show where we're dropping it on Wednesday instead of Tuesdays. So a little extra day to recover is helpful.
Yes. Hope nobody's too upset about that. You probably planned your work schedule around when we drop our shows, so we apologize.
But, Mark has got to work games on the weekend for the Mariners, and my games are on Sunday. So we figured at least for a while we're going to drop these on Wednesdays. We'll see, especially during the off season, where we land. But let's get right into BP here. Mark, I got some really kind of off the wall kind of stuff here that I've seen in the last week. First of all, somebody went, and they must have been bored, but they took the headshots of all of the players from all of the teams from opening day, and they made a graph with them, which is scary enough as it is. But the main purpose of this is they wanted to see how many players on the 26-man roster for each Major League Baseball team was smiling in their official Major League Baseball headshot. Again, people have a lot of time on their hands, I guess.
Yeah, well.
Who do you think's the happiest team in Major League Baseball?
That's a good question. The San Diego Padres. Well, they live in San Diego.
Yeah, well, they're kind of middle of the pack. I mean, if you don't know how these pictures are taken, Media Day is generally in the very early days of spring training. So this could be late February or early March. But it's weird because it turns out the happiest team in baseball is probably the happiest team in baseball with the Tampa Bay Rays, because they're very good. And they just lost their first game over the weekend. Now, this graph here says 25 and a half. More fractions. I don't know. I guess maybe it's a smirk. They almost had everybody smiling, but apparently one of them was smirking. In second place was the Reds at 24, which I guess probably just Joey Votto is keeping them light.
There you go. Yep.
Remarkably unhappy, which is weird because they're off to a good start, is the Texas Rangers. Only 7 of their guys are smiling.
Wow, taking it seriously in Texas.
Yeah, I don't know if they had a team, like a team meeting or something before photo day or what, but they were not happy. Your Seattle Mariners are directly in the middle at 17. That's pretty much league average, it looks like.
I would have put us at a pretty happy team, but maybe they don't like the weather so much.
Yeah, I don't know. My A's are at 21. But that makes sense because there's 21 guys that are just happy to be employed.
That's a good point.
So they're like, hey, man, I'm a big leaguer. I'm getting my picture taken. I'm going to smile.
Baseball card coming. Check me out.
Yeah, get that contract. All right, another odd graph that I found here is the most common batting order position by defensive position through April 12th. So this got me to thinking. It was an interesting thing to look at, but this got me to thinking, Mark, you and I we like to say it, our prime time, our heyday of baseball was the mid 80s to kind of the mid to late 90s. That was when we really kind of slept and lived baseball. That's when I could tell you everybody on every team and something about them. And, I knew just a ton of stuff because all I did was think about baseball. Not that kind of still describes it, but
yeah, it's very similar to what we do now. But back then, it was way more obsession.
It was harder because you didn't have the internet. You couldn't watch every team.
Oh my gosh! Remember doing rotisserie leagues or fantasy leagues?
I mean,
you had to calculate it all out yourself.
Comb the box scores in the newspaper every morning. Get to watch that one national game a week. I mean, it took a lot to know what we know now at that point. But I mean, Mark, at that point, you knew that your center fielder or your left fielder was leading off. That's your leadoff batter, right?
Yes, exactly.
Not so much the case at this point. But I mean, it still happens quite a bit, and especially now that stolen bases is really coming back into play. But if we look at the position that has the most guys leading off right now, it is actually through the 12th. It was left field with 67 times that had happened. But in second place was shortstop at 61. Which back in, the 80s and the 90s, shortstop was there for their glove. And, you think Ozzie Smith, you might not be getting on base that much. 75. So I guess in second place is second base and then shortstop. So that middle infield has become a big thing for leadoff guys. Let's see. Also, center field and right field, 55 and 57. Third base, 24 players have led off playing third base. 12 designated hitters. That makes sense. Somebody just getting the day off. 3 catchers have led off.
Wow.
You would have never seen that in the 80s and 90s. And 16 first basemen have led off.
That's also strange.
Yeah, so it was just interesting to compare back to, when I really put a lot of thought into something like this. This is kind of upside down from what that was. So I thought that was interesting just to notice where people are playing defensively when they lead off. So, Mark, we mentioned we're recording that. Well, we didn't mention when we're recording this, but we're recording this on Monday, which is the 17th, which is also Patriots Day. It's the holiday celebrated mainly in New England, but it commemorates Paul Revere's ride. Of course, the Red Sox always play a home game very early for us on the West Coast, day game, so that fans can watch the game and then go watch the marathon runners cross the finish line from the Boston Marathon, just a couple of blocks away. Well, Red Sox legend and Hall of Famer Jim Rice, in his career, hit 384 home runs. That's regular and postseason, just so we don't get emails. That equals 26.2 miles of home run trot, the exact same distance in the Boston Marathon.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So he ran a really slow year after year Boston Marathon.
Yeah, he probably would have come in last. He wasn't really booking it. One of only 2 players to do that. Matt Williams also did that, but he obviously didn't play for the Red Sox, so that didn't fit as well. Pitch clock. How are we liking it?
I'm a fan. I have to say, it's definitely won me over.
I have not heard one person say they don't like the pitch clock. I am a fan.
There's some. I mean, it really, you get used to the game being what it is. But there's some added value to it when it's a little bit quicker and you don't have to wait as long in between. And I'm trying to say this as someone who doesn't work in baseball and gets to leave as soon as the last out is recorded, because short games are good games too. We've had a 214 and a 203. Yep. So not bad.
I get it. I love it too. And the one thing I do miss is when it's tight, late, runner on maybe go ahead or tying run on base. I don't mind more time between pitches at that point because it kind of adds to the tension. Mm-hmm. But now there's a new aspect, is it's tight, but you're kind of up against it. So it's kind of like basketball or football where you're playing with that clock and you got to make a decision quickly and you might need to hurry yourself and it might change the outcome. But yeah, I really like it. I'm not going to lie. There are some consequences, though. One, the games, as you said, are shorter. So what are teams doing? They're selling beer longer.
Yes.
They're selling it into the 8th inning now.
They don't have as much time to sell beer. And we all know that $16 beers must have a decent profit margin.
Well, you don't make tickets. You don't make money from tickets. That's for sure. You make money from the concessions. So definitely. I am a little concerned about the throwover limit, though. I'm still absolutely not sold on it. Obviously, it's increasing stolen bases. Guys are running wild. I saw somebody yesterday steal second and on the next pitch steal third. I love it, but it's becoming, I think, a little too easy because you only have those limited number of throws over there. I think they're going to have to tweak that. Maybe not during the season, but I think they're going to have to tweak that. My question, though, is now that there is a limit to throwing over, can we bring back the fake the throw to third, throw to first?
Now would be the time for it.
Yeah, I mean, because it was taken away because guys were doing that and it was adding to the length of the games. I'm a big proponent of that, so I'd love to see that back. I say facetiously.
Yes.
Expansion. So obviously, we've talked quite a bit here about expansion, not relocation so much, but expansion. Portland and Nashville are two cities that are really pushing hard to get an expansion Major League Baseball team. New city has thrown their hat in the ring. Salt Lake City.
Ooh.
So this is something that I'm paying a lot of attention to. All of my teams in the show or OOTP baseball I always manage the Salt Lake Bees or the Buzz, depending on which I'm feeling. So I'm very interested in this. Salt Lake has a great minor league ballpark where the Buzz and now the Bees play. I love when I go back going to a game there, but it's only like 20 years old. It still looks beautiful. It's got a beautiful view of the mountains. They're building a new one. They're building a new AAA stadium in a couple of years.
Yeah, they support their baseball there. That's for sure.
Yeah, they do draw pretty well. I mean, it's a good family activity there in a place where family activities are something that will always draw a crowd. Now, the group that is vying for this expansion team is interesting because it includes Dale Murphy and Jeremy Guthrie, who are both Utah residents. So that was interesting. Couple of names that certainly Dale Murphy we talk about quite a bit on this show. Let's see, Mark, you and I, we talked before we started recording about Jackie Robinson Day. It was last Sunday. Love it. A lot of great history stuff going on throughout broadcasts. I watched 3 or 4 games on Sunday, and everybody was talking about Jackie all day. As someone who works in baseball, you and I don't so much like Jackie Robinson Day because of the uniforms.
Yeah. It makes it a little bit tougher when everybody's wearing number 42.
It does. And no names on the back. But as an A's fan who was already not familiar with the guys on the team because they change every 2 days, I hate Jackie Robinson Day. I absolutely have no idea who is out there without the names on the back of the jerseys. I'm asking when I'm watching, on a regular Tuesday when they've got their name and number, who is this guy? Yeah, that was tough on Tuesday.
Our friends at the Mariners were having trouble telling who was throwing in the bullpen.
Yep.
You got 2 guys out there. Well, I don't know who they are. They're number 42. Look it up.
It's always a thing. Hey, Mark, we talked about the no-hitter loss by the Trash Pandas last week, which is just fun to talk about the Trash Pandas. Now that it's been a week since that, a lot of researchers have gone back and done the research for us, and I got a couple of interesting facts about that game. The record for most runs scored in the modern era in which a team gave up no hits in the major leagues, that would be Andy Hawkins.
I remember that.
Yeah, that would be. He only gave up 4 runs without giving up a hit.
Right. I actually very much remember that game.
I absolutely do too. Yeah. I mean, it was unfathomable to me at that point in 1990. Yes. I was still in high school and I could not fathom that you could throw a no-hitter and lose. So, yeah.
It did not make any sense, but he figured out a way.
Yeah. Now I see it and I'm like, oh, that is very interesting. But, I get it. It's baseball these days.
It can happen. Yep.
Yeah. In the minor leagues, though, this has happened a couple of times before. Do you remember the old Pony League in 1948? Not like the high school Pony League, but the actual minor league Pony League.
Don't remember it from being there, but yes, I remember discussing it.
Well, Lewis Blackmore of the Wellsville Red Sox, he lost a game 7-5. Didn't give up a hit. So Same score happened before. But Blackmore walked 17 batters that day.
Oh, my goodness. Why even take a swing?
Wow, I know. I'm surprised he only gave up 7 runs when he walked 17. But as if that wasn't bad enough, the game also suffered from one of those great minor league delays that nowadays you would only see in the Oakland Coliseum in the big leagues. But during the 3rd inning, there was a lengthy skunk delay.
Ooh.
Yeah. According to an account in the Buffalo News, quote, the skunk explored the center of the diamond, then exited via the left field while spectators and players threw missiles, but got no hits, end quote. No hits. By the way, in the second game of that doubleheader, the Trash Pandas did win last week and gave up exactly 1 hit. So in a doubleheader, they gave up 1 hit and split.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Totally bizarre.
All right, Mark, as we mentioned, this show is debuting on Wednesday for the first time. That is April 19th. A couple of debuts from April 19th throughout baseball history. First of all, in 1901, Jim Delahunty, the brother of Ed, I believe there were 3 Delahunty brothers, Ed Delahunty, episode number 36, way back. If you haven't heard that one, go back because he was an interesting guy and passed in a very interesting, mysterious way.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, definitely not as prolific as Ed, but still had a really good career as both a position player and a pitcher. Shohei Ohtani much. He played for the Orphans, the Bean Eaters, and the Tip Tops, which are all Hall of Fame names for sure, for team names. Definitely there. Enos Slaughter, 1938. Mark, you talked about Enos's mad dash in Game 7 of the 1946 World Series before.
Yep.
All pretty much caused by a kind of lackadaisical play by Boston's Johnny Pesky. That was interesting. A Hall of Famer, 1985, Enos Slaughter was inducted. 1949 making his debut today, Minnie Minoso. His major league debut, 1948. But he also played 3 years in the Negro Leagues before that, and then he also went ahead and played in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. Specifically, 1976 and 1980, where he came back for a game each to play in 5 different decades. That's a pretty interesting career.
That's a dedicated pitcher.
Well, but he was not a pitcher. But
except for that.
That would have made it even more interesting. In that 1976, I think he played in, maybe it was 3 games, but he did get a hit. In 1980, he did not. I think it was 12 years in between hits for Minnie Minoso at one point. And then 1972, Don Stanhouse, one of the prime patron saints of the show. That was episode 130. I would have sworn we did that like 4 months ago. But that's from episode 130 if you want to go learn more about Stan the Man Unusual and Don Stanhouse. All right, so those are our debuts for today, April 19th. Mark, this is episode number 209. We haven't done a Tales from the Dugout for a little bit. And let's why don't you say we do that, and let's hit a couple of shorter stories that don't take up that much time, aren't worthy of a whole show. Well, they might be worthy, but they're not going to be able to fill out a whole show. So I'm going to have you go first. What do you got?
Well, I was thinking the other day, which is odd for me, but wow. I was.
Yeah, you write down the date and time.
Yeah, I told my wife, she didn't believe me, but I was thinking, who are the greatest baseball players of all time? You know, the top 10. And I thought there's got to be a definitive list. Maybe we should come up with one. Our listeners should come up. And then I actually found a definitive list of the top 10 baseball players of all time. And I know it's true.
This is it.
Because it's in the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Oh, okay. So if anybody asks, we can just tell them.
Yeah.
Just shut them down if they argue.
Just for some stats here. The Encyclopedia Britannica has been around since 1768. In the United Kingdom. In 1901, it moved to the United States. It's been around a long time. It's been published first through 6 editions all the way through 1826. 2010 was the last printed version. So they've been online, ever since then. And I found their list of the 10 greatest baseball players of all time. And so now here it is. Now we'll know. From now on, we can say he's one of the greatest of all time.
One of the 10 greatest of all time.
That's right. All right. So here we're going to go through them fairly quickly. Number 10, Roger Clemens. Next to pitchers and hitters.
Wow, I think I know which way this list is going. Now, is this from a printed version from 2003?
No, this is online. And let me tell you, it says this was written by a guy named Adam Augustine. And it says right here, and I quote, fact checked by the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica.
All right.
So
just shook my shoulders. Yeah, I guess
Roger
so.
Clemens is the 10th best player of all time.
Okay.
All right. Number 9, Honus Wagner.
All right. I can get on board with that one.
Clemens and Honus. Number 8, Stan Musial.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Stan the Man Unusual. But okay. All right. I'm on board.
Musial.
Still. Yeah.
7, just ahead of Stan the Man, Ty Cobb.
Okay.
So, okay.
That's a little low for Ty Cobb, I think, but okay.
Little. Number 6, the big train, Walter Johnson.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, because we're mixing pitchers and hitters. All right, number 5, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, Hank Aaron.
Okay.
Number 4 is a guy who probably is the greatest pure hitter of all time, Ted Williams.
Okay. Yeah, we're running out of spots, and I still got a lot of names in my head.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're getting there. Number 3, of course, is Barry Bonds.
Okay.
The third greatest of all time. Number 2, one of my picks for the greatest of all time, Mr. Willie Mays. So they did well here.
Okay.
And the number 1 of all time, of course, is Babe
Aaron
Ruth.
Judge. Oh, that's my bad. Favorite.
Yeah. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have the 10 greatest players of all time. And at first I was going to question it because I'm like, well, what do the British know? But as I said, it moved to the United States in 1901, and it's been fact checked. Yeah, by the editors, and so we know it. There's the facts, folks. I don't care if you disagree or not. I'm going with what the Encyclopedia Britannica says because they're always right.
I guess this is the last show of the podcast because they definitively answered the question. 2 pitchers, including Roger Clemens, Cy Young, nowhere to be found. Interestingly enough. Wow. Okay. That's like the kind of list that my mom might have put together just from perusing like the baseball encyclopedia printed in the year 2000.
I really enjoyed it. I came across it on accident and I just started reading it and went, well, it's fact checked. We know it.
Boy, and I could see some like, lower tier cable TV show that doesn't know anything about baseball but needs a top 10 list using that. And just with unironically even. Wow. Okay. Should we add Wax Facts Hero if any of the 10 greatest players of all times gets pulled that you automatically win?
I think that's only fair. Wait, they could actually be in there. So no.
Yeah, I know. I think we could. Well, Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds. There you go.
Clemens and Bonds will be in there. I don't want that.
Yeah. Okay. No. Well, that's interesting. Well, this I've got a story here from somebody we've talked about quite a bit. Is definitely got to be in the upper echelons of all-time Major League Baseball players. I am sure that the fact checkers at the Encyclopedia Britannica have probably never heard of him, though, judging by their list. But if you let's transport ourselves back to Philadelphia, 1906. So first thing I'm going to do if I'm in Philadelphia in 1906 is I'm going to track down Rube Waddell.
Ooh, yes, Rube.
Rube, nickname, 80 grade. Pitcher, 81 grade. I'm going to say, just incredible talent. Character, probably an 81 grade as well, which, of course, the scouting scale only goes to 80. Again, if you have to explain the joke, it's probably not that funny in the first place. But Rube Waddell, just an incredible baseball player. He could have been mayor of Philadelphia at this point. Fresh off the 1905 season, which saw George Edward Waddell go 27-10 with a 1.48 ERA, struck out 287 over 328 innings to lead the league again. He had the run of the town. He could do what he wanted. So one night, Rube asked his teammate Topsy Hartzell if he wanted to have the time of his life out on the town with old Rube. Topsy couldn't refuse this offer. Who could? Topsy, by the way, once recorded 11 putouts in one game in left field in 1901. He did
Topsy.
Yeah, he could not take the day off in left field that day. So out on the town they go, starting out with some dinner. Rube orders a nice whitefish. Is there a fish called whitefish, or does it just mean it's not salmon? I don't know.
I think it's a general, like a
cod
or not species, but genus. I don't know.
Cod or a piranha, maybe he ordered. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what color goldfish are.
Goldfish, yeah. That you got to order a lot of those, though. They tend not to have a lot of meat on the bones. But anyway, he didn't get to actually taste it, though, because as he was served his whitefish, he spotted somebody at another table across the room who, according to this article from the Chattanooga News, he, quote, didn't like, end quote. That's all it said. He didn't like this guy. So... sometimes you just don't like somebody, or maybe this person has wronged the great Rube at some point. I don't know. But Rube couldn't let this go. This couldn't stand. So what did he do? What anybody in this situation would have done. He marched over to this guy with his whitefish and smacked the dude over the head with his dinner. Rube and Topsy were asked to leave the restaurant and, go elsewhere. So with dinner settled, they headed to the theater, where Rube was allowed a backstage tour during the show. So while the play is going on, which is a wild Western melodrama, there was a lot of shooting and gunplay in this. The two ball players were escorted behind the scenes to see how things were run. As they are backstage, there was a particularly dramatic scene where the hero proclaimed his love for the heroine. The theater, you could have heard a pin drop. Everybody just gripped by the drama. As I mentioned, a lot of shooting, a lot of guns. There was a table that had all the prop guns there just off stage that the actors could grab as they go on to do their part. Well, this table proved too much of a temptation for old Rube. He picked one up and fired it off right at this dramatic moment. You can imagine it did not go over well, and Rube and Topsy's theater experience was over as they were once again booted out of an establishment and asked not to return. Rube, however, was unfazed. He knew of another theater where one of his friends was performing, so off they went to another location. This show drew an audience because it included a large cage with real lions in it as part of the finale. Like the theater before, Rube and Topsy were treated like royalty, whisked backstage for a tour, and just kind of see how things are working during the show. Well, you put Rube Waddell and a cage full of lions together, and something's going to happen, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, one of these lions let his tail fall outside of the cage. So Rube thought it would be hilarious to pull said tail. As you can imagine, lions don't really like to be harassed like that. When they're already in a cage with other lions and then you pull their tail, they're probably going to react. Well, the lion roared and spun around quicker than Rube could react, caught the arm of the pitcher, ripping the sleeve of his shirt off and leaving a long red claw mark down his arm.
Why? This guy did a lot of things where I always ask why.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said if you're in Philadelphia in 1906 and you get to hang out with Rube Waddell, you gotta go, right?
Oh man, chance of a lifetime.
Yeah, so for the second time that night, the two were quickly escorted out and asked not to come back. So heading home finally, missing a sleeve and now with a large mark on his arm. The article, by the way, did not say if this was his pitching arm or not. From Rube's reaction, this kind of seems like it was probably just a regular Tuesday night for him. But he wanted to make sure that he and Topsy were on the same page when they got to the ballpark the next day. So Rube laid out the story for Topsy in case Connie Mack, the manager of the Philadelphia Athletics, asked why Rube now had a long scratch on his person. Well, according to Topsy, this is what Rube said. Quote, "Tops, don't forget now. We had a row with a couple of guys that said Connie Mack was a no-good son of a hyena. And one of them slashed me with a knife when I defended Connie's reputation. Who knows? Maybe we can get him for $20 each if we tell him it good enough." End quote.
That's great.
Well, I think I'd probably give my left arm to be able to go out on a night on the town with Rube Waddell. Topsy vowed that he would never again accompany the pitcher.
I can't believe it.
Oh, I can. I mean, this is Rube Waddell. He's distracted by puppies and fire trucks. He wrestled alligators in the off season. Just some good stuff from Rube Waddell.
He loved to chase those fire trucks.
Yeah, he did. All right,
Nice.
What else? Do you get anything else?
Yeah, just real quick. I was reading about Game 6 of the '86 World Series, and it was, what we remember about it. Everybody that's a baseball fan knows what happened. Bill Buckner, etc., Ray Knight, and the winning run, and so on. But I came across something that I had forgotten about, and that was Parachute Guy.
Oh yeah, I was
Parachute
worried you were. Yeah, I definitely remember Parachute. I was worried you were going to talk about the two older women behind home plate that were doing the traveling sign with their hands that annoyed the heck out of me. But
Oh my gosh, I will never forget them.
I hate them, and I see people do it sometimes still, and I want to go punch them. But
Every
yes,
pitch.
I remember Parachute Guy. It was early in that game. It was in the first couple innings.
Yeah, and he came zinging in with a Go Mets sign attached to his ropes and landed on the field. And it was nuts. He was charged with criminal trespass, reckless endangerment, and I quote, and anything else we can think of. Of course, the Mets came back and won that game. Could it have been partly to do with Parachute Man?
Oh, I think not partly. Yeah, I think probably 98%. And the other 2% were the women behind home plate moving their hands.
And this is, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. I'll just read it to you. December 10th of that year, Sergio, who claimed that several Mets players helped him get a lawyer, pled guilty to a criminal trespass charge in exchange for prosecutors dropping a more serious charge of reckless endangerment. He was sentenced to community service and fined. However, Sergio, that's our hero, was later held in contempt of court for refusing to reveal the name of the pilot who flew the plane from which he jumped. As a result, in May 1987, he was sentenced to 6 months in federal prison.
Wow, federal prison.
Yes, and not for jumping out of the plane, but for not telling who the pilot was.
But, good for him.
No squealing,
Good friend,
man.
yeah. He's got his pilot's back. I read somewhere about Parachute Guy that was all on a dare. That he was talking about it like a couple of games before, and his buddies, yeah, right, I dare you to do that. And then they're all watching the game, and here he comes with his Go Mets, spray painted on a bed sheet. Wow.
Yeah, I had kind of forgotten about that until I came across that article, and I went, "Oh man, I remember Parachute Guy."
Yeah, I didn't know that players helped him get a lawyer and stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up our Tales from the Dugout portion of this show. I went real country there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mark, it is time to head into the final segment of the show. It is time for everybody's favorite. It's when you and we look each other in the eyes, not romantically, but with some serious intentions, because it's time to get into game mode here. It's time for everybody's favorite portion of the show. It's time for Wax Packs Heroes. So important, in fact, that it's got its own theme that sounds like this.
Wax Pack Hero! Gonna pull a Wax Pack Hero! Dark stars in his eyes! Wax Pack Hero! On the podcast tonight!
All right, we are into week 3 of the new season here. We split the first homestand. Both Mark and I both have one win. My win was much more spectacular, but it's in the standings. It looks all the same. So
It's a one win. It's a 1-1.
yeah, but we
No matter
know
how spectacular.
We know. So if you are new here, this is what we do. We've got a couple of packs from the Wax Packs era. In this case, it is just straight up wax. 2 packs of 1988 Fleers. We're going to open said packs, and Mark's going to get 1 pack. I'm going to get the other. We are going to use the Baseball Reference War of the Year of the Pack. Like I said, 1988. We're going to add those up. Whoever at the end has the highest amount will get the win, but we got a couple of extra rules to add or subtract to that. First of all, anything on the player's face. That means glasses of any sort, flip downs, big science teacher looking things, mustaches, eye black, anything like that, you're going to get an extra 1/10 of a point. If they're wearing real stirrups, which I did wear in my game.
Of course you did. You were fashionable, my friend.
Yes, I had to wear the real stirrups. You're going to get an extra 1/10 of a point. But if you're wearing the 2-in-1s, which I'm probably going to wear next week because I got a lot of scrapes and bruises I got to protect now, it is a minus 1/10 of a point. Any awards that were won that year by the player, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP, All-Star, Gold Glove, etc., that's a 1/2 a point each. If there is a Hall of Famer on the card, whether or not they're the focus of the card or not, you get an extra point there because they're a Hall of Famer. If Ricky Henderson or Nolan Ryan make an appearance on any of these cards, regardless of whose pack, I'm going to get 5 points if Ricky's there. Mark's going to get 5 if Nolan Ryan is there. If the card that we pulled is mentioned in the Mitchell report, minus 1/2 a point. That's not cool, bro. Also, if there is any acting appearances or pop culture references, a 1/2 a point for that. If they appeared, though, on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, The Simpsons, or Seinfeld, you get a whole extra point for that because those are kind of our favorites. And then, Mark, you and I are each going to pick a team. If my team comes up in either pack, I'm going to get a 1/2 a point. If yours, you get a 1/2 a point. Which team would you like to go with?
Today, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Royals.
Let's see. You just talked about the parachute guy, and the Mets, who are my number 2 team, came in and swept my number 1 team this week. So I'm going to go with the Mets.
There you go.
All right, Mark. Pack in the left hand and right hand. Which one would you like?
Right hand, sir.
Right hand. All right. Last week, because you're the 4-time defending champ, I kind of just make my own rules in terms of the pack. I let you pick the pack, and then I stole it. But now I think you're onto that. So I think you picked the right pack thinking I was going to then take the right pack and steal it from you. But I'm not going to. I'm going to keep you with the right pack.
Okay. Well, we'll see if my strategy works.
And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go first with the left pack here.
All righty.
All right. So here are my cards here. First, we're going to start off with a pitcher for the California Angels at this point, Dwayne Buse. I've seen this name before. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's spelled juice, but with a B.
Oh, it's Bice.
Bice.
Dwayne Miami Bice.
Oh, look at that. You even knew the nickname. That's very impressive. There's a reason why you got this gig.
That's right.
Not just your look. I was going to say good looks, but I couldn't go that far without laughing. Let's see. Dwayne Bice. This is a great shot here. He's getting his picture taken. It's during batting practice. It's at the big A, but he has this batting practice jersey, which is tucked into his pants very tightly, by the way, but it's mesh. Like you could see through it. Like teenagers used to wear these with no shirts underneath them, like kind of mesh. Like you're not hiding anything underneath it. Interesting look. Dwayne Bice, let's see, 3 years in the big leagues, 2 with California, 1 with Toronto, 1988 with the Angels, 2-4, 5.88 ERA, 41 innings pitched, 38 strikeouts, a 66 ERA plus, and I'm going to start out with a minus 0.9 WAR.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's rough.
He does have a mustache, so that'll only be a minus 0.8. Obviously, no awards were won by Mr. Bice here. That's not a good way to start out. Jeez. Dwayne.
That's your closer right there.
Yeah, that's I've had better starts than Dwayne Bice. Oh, wow. Get this. Bice is one of the original managing partners of Upper Deck Trading Company.
Really? Wasn't that Wally Joyner's company at one point?
I don't see anything here about Wally World. Bice was in downtown Yorba Linda one evening looking for a particular Chinese restaurant in the area. Went into a baseball card shop called the Upper Deck to ask the person if he knew where this was. They struck up a friendship. Obviously, a card shop owner, if he's friends with a Major League Baseball player, is going to take advantage of that. And they started Upper Deck. Wow. I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
So a little bit more on Dwayne Bice. Upper Deck, its first year, came out with a couple of sample cards, Wally Joyner and Dwayne Bice. That's why I thought Joyner had something to do with it.
Well, you know, and Dwayne Bice, same player level as Wally Joyner. I can see why those two would be the...
Of course. Well, Upper Deck didn't have permission to do that. So there was a threatened lawsuit, and they decided to settle out of court. Wally Joyner took a $10,000 payday. Weiss asked for his in company stock, and he sold when he made $17 million.
Wow, that is probably $17 million more than he made as a professional baseball player.
Oh my gosh, what a decision! I'll take the 10 grand. I thought that was amazing.
Wow, I think Dwayne Weiss has got to be like an honorary member of the Two Strike Noise
Seriously,
family.
That's pretty impressive.
All right, number 2 here. I'm gonna get some good extra bonus points for this. But this is a great looking card in Wrigley Field. Shortstop for the Phils, Juan Samuel.
Juan Samuel. Hey, you know what? He could always hit.
And he could always have a good head of hair underneath that hat.
That's right.
Too. Let's see. Juan Samuel, 16 years in the big leagues, 7 with the Phillies, 3 with the Dodgers, 3 with Toronto, and then a bunch of other teams for short stints in 1988 with Philly, off an All-Star year. 157 games, 243 average, 298 on base, 12 home runs, 67 RBI, a 93 OPS plus, and all of that is good for a WAR of -0.2. I'm going the wrong way here. Now, Juan, though, does have some flip-down sunglasses. He's got a mustache, and he's got real stirrups. So I am going to get a positive 0.1 out of that. This is a good-looking card. He's wearing those Phillies powder blue uniforms, too, the road ones. So this is... I doubt we're going to get a better-looking card than this one. Let's see, the next year in 89, he was traded from the Phillies to the Mets for Lenny Dykstra and Roger McDowell. Juan Samuel, Rookie of the Year in 1984, in which he also broke a rookie single-season record for steals with 72, which was previously held by Tim Raines with 71. All right, so I'm still at -0.7 after 2 cards. I'm well on my way to my usual score, but this one's gonna be a tough decision. 1988, I've got a pitching magic card. On it, I have got Mike Scott and Oral Hershiser.
Oh, wow.
So this is 1988. So remember that the Dodgers won the World Series that year basically because of Oral Hershiser. Mm-hmm. Mike Scott, now if this was 1986, I think I would take Mike Scott in a heartbeat. Yeah. Plus he's got glasses on. But I think I'm going to go with Oral in 1988 because I think this was also the year that he set the mark for consecutive innings, scoreless innings, right?
And yeah, that's right. I believe you're right.
So I'm going to go with Oral. What would your inclination be?
I would probably go with Hershiser.
All right. Well, let's see what we got here for the Bulldog. 1988. Good news, All-Star. So I've got that. Even better news, Cy Young.
Oh boy.
Gold Glove and 6th in the MVP voting. So I like where this is going so far. 23-8 with a 2.26 ERA, 15 complete games. 8 of them were shutouts. Led the league in both those categories and wins. Led the league in innings, pitched 267 and struck out 178. And that is good for a ERA plus of 149. And that is good for a WAR of 7.2.
Oh, nice one.
7.2. He was an all-star, won the Cy Young and a Gold Glove. So that's 1.5 extra points. So that's 8.7. Let's see. Not a Hall of Famer. Doesn't have any glasses on. I'm going to guess, though, that he has been in some TV or something that we can talk about. But we'll see about that here in a minute. Let's just, for fun here, let's just look up and see 7.2. I seriously doubt that Mike Scott's going to be able to beat a 7.2. Let's see, 1988. He still went 14-8 with a 2.92 ERA. That's not bad at all. 4.7. So yeah. I made the right choice there. 86, 8.4 and won the Cy Young. So wow. Yeah, definitely. I think we nailed that. We would have taken Mike Scott in 86, but
absolutely
88 definitely the way to go here. So some things here that we'll put up for debate whether or not I'm gonna get any extra points for this. Became a big poker player after retiring. Played in a number of events, including the 2008 World Series of Poker. Let's see, he won in the Poker Stars Caribbean Adventure $54,000 in 2008.
Nice.
Hershiser also made a tradition of giving an autographed baseball to the poker player who eliminated him.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Also, now, here are the things that might get me an extra point. He was a guest star on the 92 episode of the Christian children's video series McGee and Me, which, I mean, we're all familiar with McGee and Me, right?
I hate to tell you this, but I am actually.
Well, then I'm assured a half a point here.
I have nieces and nephews.
The episode was titled Take Me Out to the Ball Game, and on an appearance of The Tonight Show after the 88 World Series, Johnny Carson talked him into singing hymns for the audience. I'm going to say I get a half a point for that.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
All right, so that takes me to 8.5. Next card is pitcher for the Cardinals, Joe McGrain.
Joe McGrain. He was around for a while, wasn't he?
Well, he was a left-handed pitcher. Let's see, only 8 years. So I'm going to guess he probably ran into some shoulder or elbow issues. 6 with the Cardinals, 2 with the Angels, 1 with the White Sox in 96. In 1988, led the league in ERA with 2.18, a 5-9 record, 165 innings pitched. 100 strikeouts, even a 161 ERA plus. I like that. And all of that equals a 3.7 WAR. Pitching's my strong suit, except for good old.
I guess. How am I gonna come back on this one?
Except for good old Juice with a B.
That's all right. He's a multi-millionaire.
Let's see. McGrain, first round draft pick by the Cardinals in the 85 draft. No real acting. He is a member of the MLB Network. I think he's still there, as a matter of fact. All right, next I got a pitcher for the Yankees, Bill Gullickson. Let's see, nickname Sugar. That's usually not a nickname that a white guy gets, but okay. 14 years in the big leagues, 7 with Montreal, 4 with Detroit, and then some other teams. 1988, bad news for me. He missed 88 and 89. I'm guessing because of injuries. In 91, wow, he led the American League in wins with a 20-9 mark.
Wow.
Yeah, for Detroit. But overall, 14 years, 162 wins, 136 losses, a 3.93 ERA, and a WAR of 23.6 that I am going to get nothing out of. He was the second overall pick in the 1977 draft by the Expos.
Gotcha.
88, he left the Yankees and went and pitched for the Yomiuri Giants for 2 seasons. Good for him. He stayed.
Right on. We've discovered that there are those who stay and those who just can't do it.
Yep. He said of his 2 years there, the only English words that he saw were Sony and Mitsubishi. Which, wow, that's funny. Is that now? I'm wondering, was he being unironically funny or what? I don't know.
My guess would be that he was joking.
Okay. Well, we'll agree to disagree.
Okay.
All right. Next. Okay. I like this guy. Hopefully he'll get me some points here. Nickname Slick, outfielder for the Bucks, Andy Van Slyke. Let's see. Andy Van Slyke, 13 years in big leagues. 13 years in the big leagues, 8 with the Bucks, 4 with the Cardinals, and then 1 for the Phillies, 1 for the Orioles. In 1988, good news for me, he was an all-star that year, his first of 3. Led the league in triples with 15, hit 288, 345, on base. 25 long balls, 100 RBI, 30 stolen bases. I like it. And a 144 OPS plus. Led the league with 13 sacrifice flies. He was an all-star and a gold glover as well. This is looking good. 6.4. So that'll be a 7.4 with a bonus. Nothing else on this is going to help me out, but I'll take the 7.4.
Yikes.
Now, this is another shot. So here, well, he's in the Big A during BP again, so we know where Fleer was taking their pictures. Andy is wearing a mesh batting practice top tucked into his Sansa pants, just like Dwayne Juice with a B was, but he's wearing a black T-shirt underneath it, so you can't see through it. So I think that's a much better look. Much better look. Of course, father of Scott Van Slyke, who played for a couple of years in the mid 2010s. First round draft pick, 6th overall by the Cardinals, and was eventually traded with Spanky Lavalier for Tony Pena of the Bucks.
Oh, wow.
I remember hearing about that trade on the 1988 Topps podcast, and I think Mike Lavalier was, I don't remember if it was Spanky or if it was Pena that was upset about that trade. He was kind of hurt about that trade, but nothing that's going to help me off the field either. But I'll take it. That was a good one. All right, picture here for the Twins. This is not the Fleer photographer did not do George Frazier any favors here with this picture.
Uh-oh.
George Frazier looks like a Wish.com Dennis Eckersley here. That's how I'm going to describe him. Hat a little bit too big for him. It's pulled down all the way. He's got some big ears sticking out there, but he does have a mustache. So congratulations. You are also a big leaguer for 10 years. Would have never guessed. St. Louis, Cubs, and the Mets for 3 apiece, and then split time with the Twins and Cleveland in 1988. Unfortunately, that was his first year of retirement.
Oh, bummer for you.
So I will only get the mustache money as it is there, 1/10 of a point. I am going to just go out on a limb here and say that George probably didn't do anything off the field that's going to help me either. Well, he's got a daughter called Georgia who was crowned Miss Oklahoma in 2015.
Wow.
He's also has a son, Matthew, served as a detective for the Tulsa Police Department and appeared on the A&E TV show The First 48.
Wow.
I've watched that.
I have too.
Wow. Okay. Surprise us, George. All right. So I'm at 19.7. I got 2 cards left here. I got pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds, Dennis Rasmussen. Dennis Rasmussen, 12 years in the big leagues, 5 with the Padres, 4 with the Yanks, 3 with the Royals, 2 with the Royals, or 2 with the Reds, and 1 for the Cubs. Like if he would have started a year earlier, he could have had 6 years with one club and extended his to go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with clubs. But I guess he wasn't thinking about that. In 1988, he split time with the Reds and the Padres. Overall went 16-10 with a 3.43 ERA, 204 innings pitched, 112 strikeouts, a 102 ERA plus. And that is good. Wow. With the Reds, he had a minus 0.8 WAR. With the Padres, he had a 2.9 on the plus side.
Wow.
So that'll be a 2.1, plus he's got real stirrups. So that'll be a 2.2 for me. Wow, this has turned into a really good pack.
You've set your standards pretty high here for me. I'm a little nervous.
Even with a really bad start with Juice with the B there. But overall, first round draft pick by the California Angels in 1988. He was traded for Tommy John. How about that in 1982? Grew up in California, nearly lost his left foot at the age of 14 when a speeding car knocked him off his bike. The fall severed his foot, which was hanging by the Achilles tendon.
Wow.
Jeez. Well,
my gosh, that's frightening.
That is very frightening. But man, he turned it around and had a nice major league career.
He sure did.
All right. Also, apparently operates a Dairy Grills in Trenton, Michigan. I don't know if he still does, but at one point he did. His grandfather, Bill Brubaker, played in the major leagues. Nickname Wilbur, or his name was Wilbur Lee Bill Brubaker. Now, if they didn't call him Wild Bill, I'm going to be very disappointed.
I would hope so.
All right, and my final card is outfielder for the Toronto Blue Jays. It is Rick Leach. Rick Leach, 10 years in the big leagues, 5 with Toronto, 3 with Detroit, and then Texas and the Giants for a single season. In 1988, with the Blue Jays in 87 games, he hit .276, 336 on base, no home runs to speak of, 23 RBI, and a 94 OPS plus. And that is good for a .4. Shocked that that's in the positive. .4. I am going to go ahead and say I'm going to need to award him a 0.2 of a point of a mustache. This thing is thick from the bottom of his nose all the way down to his upper lip. It is much thickness to be had. So that'll be a 0.8 for me.
Rick Leach was the starting quarterback for the University of Michigan and took them to 3 consecutive Big Ten conference championships and 3 appearances in the Rose Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good athlete. Ended up being a first round draft pick too from the Tigers. Local boy, right? We went to U of M. First round draft pick in 1979. All right, so I'm happy with that. That's a 22.7.
Man, dude, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat. Let's go ahead and open up your pack now. All right, so Mark, you're going to start off here with some solid points from mustache and science teacher classes. It's outfielder for the Phillies, Greg Gross. Let's see. Greg Gross, 17 years in the big leagues, 10 with the Phillies, 5 with the Astros, 2 with the Cubs. 1988, at the age of 35, his penultimate season with the Phillies, 98 games, hit 203, 291 on base, no home runs, 5 RBI, a 46 OPS plus. And, well, good for you. You're going to start out the same way I did with a minus 0.7 WAR. You do get the glasses and the mustache, so it'll only be a minus 0.5 for you.
I feel lucky.
Unless somehow he happened to end up on Seinfeld and we don't remember that. I'm not sure you're going to get anything off the field. Well, it looks like Greg did the old mop-up duty as a position player pitching a couple of times in his career. Struck out Casey Kendall and Herm Winningham at one point.
Nice.
And also struck out Chico, Jose Lean, swinging.
Man, maybe he could have extended his career.
Yeah, but that looks like that'll be it. So, all right, not the strongest start for you. Maybe this will help. Here with Cleveland, outfielder Mel Hall.
Yeah, I remember him mostly as a Yankee and his great hair.
All right, yeah, Mel Hall's on our do not talk about list. So let's just quickly go through his stats. Let's see, 13 years in the big leagues. 1988 with Cleveland, 150 games, 280 average, 312 on base. 6 home runs, 71 RBI, 7 stolen bases, a 95 OPS plus, and that is good for a minus 0.2 WAR.
Another good one. Right on.
I'll give you. He's got like 5 o'clock shadow going on, so I'll give you some facial hair, so it'll only be a minus 0.1. We'll see if I come back to rue that decision. All right, next outfielder for the Reds, Tracy Jones. I think you know what I remember about Tracy Jones is I am fairly certain he is the first male that was that I'd ever heard of that was named Tracy.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that he is, but let's see. 6 years in the big leagues, 3 with Cincinnati, 2 with your Seattle Mariners, 2 with Detroit, and then 1 with Montreal, 1 with the Giants. 1988, split time with Cincinnati and Montreal. Overall, 295 average, 358 on base, 3 home runs, 24 RBI, 18 stolen bases, 107 OPS plus, and all of that is good for a positive 0.5.
Wow, I'm getting back to 0.
Well, no, you're still at minus 0.1, but
I'm getting there.
Yeah, he's got the Fleer loved this look, the BP mesh BP during BP pullover look. But he is thankfully wearing a shirt underneath it as well. I think there's only one guy that went with the shirtless look. I would bet that Jay Baller probably didn't wear a shirt underneath his pullover mesh top. Got all that lettuce sticking out. Let's see. Tracy, first round draft pick by the Reds in 1983. Oh, well, look at that. He was traded for Herm Winningham at one point, who was then struck out by Randy Gross.
Wow, it's all coming together.
Cyclical. Yeah, it's all cyclical. Nothing that's going to help you out on the card or outside of baseball. So let's see. I had that. Here's your chance to make it up. All right. You've got a American League All-Stars card. Now, this seems pretty obvious which one you're going to go with because one's a Hall of Famer, one was a good player but was a catcher in the 80s. So, do with it what you will. Pictured on this card at the Oakland Coliseum for the All-Star game is Matt Noakes and Kirby Puckett. So, which one are you going to choose there?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Kirby on this one.
I thought you would. Let's see. Kirby Puckett, 12 years in the big leagues, career cut short because of eye injury. And, of course, then unfortunately passed away. We're not going to go into his off-the-field stuff too much, although I've read some articles that really had some pretty compelling evidence that his off-the-field troubles may not have been what they were made out to be, but we're not here to judge that, and we're not here to just stir up controversy. That's not our brand.
In that, what you're talking about, though, he was found not guilty on all counts, so...
Yeah, so we love, I think I speak for Mark when I say that we loved him as a player on the field. He was a joy really to watch.
Yeah.
He and Tony Gwynn just looked like they couldn't have been having more fun when they were on a baseball field. And they both had laughs, those goofy laughs, both of them, and kind of unique voices. Mm-hmm, And they both had kind of the same body shape at the end of their career, too. Let's see. Kirby Puckett, 12 years, 10 All-Star years, including 1988. Of course, all of it with the Twins. That's the only team he played for. 158 games. He hit 356, a 375 on base. Let's see, 24 home runs, 121 RBI, led the league with 234 hits, 6 stolen bases, a 153 OPS plus, third in the MVP balloting. He was an All-Star and a Gold Glove winner that year, so that'll help as well. And that is good. Wow, 7.8, the highest of his career.
No, that'll help.
Plus the All-Star and the Gold Glove, that is an 8.8. Kirby always had facial hair, so that'll be an 8.9. And he's a Hall of Famer, so that will be a 9.9.
There we go.
Yeah, that was a big one there. First round draft pick in 82 by the Twins. Let's just, before we look off the field, let's just look at Matt Noakes. I mean, I think it was kind of a no-brainer, but Matt Noakes in 1988, a 2.5 WAR. Pretty easy choice there. I thought Kirby Puckett had like an NES video game, but I don't see anything about it. But if you do Google Kirby Puckett video game, on Amazon for $5.49, you can buy Kirby Puckett's baseball games book.
And what is that?
It's a baseball game book. Let's see here. 2 5-star reviews. Great for a 6-year-old. Absolutely loves this book. Reads it before nighttime, before bed every night. Also, a great book! Exclamation book. Best book there to teach baseball basics. This is the second copy I have bought. Wow. So there you go. All right, Kirby. There you go. All right, so you're at 9.8. I'm not feeling as comfortable all of a sudden. Next, we've got pitcher for the Astros with one of the great nicknames. It's Jim. 2 silhouettes on Deshays.
There you go. I believe he is a color analyst for the Cubs.
Very well could be. There's a lot of headshots here of him looking very professional with an IFB in his ear, and I'm realizing that some of our younger listeners might not have any idea what the Jim 2 silhouettes on Deshays might reference. But that was a Berman nickname, but there was a song from the 60s that would go, I'm not going to sing, but the chorus was somebody was spying on their girlfriend and at one point saw her in a room with another guy and two silhouettes on the shades of them kissing. So it's a clever nickname if you know what the song is. Let's see. Jim Deshaies, 12 years in the big leagues, 7 with the Astros, and then a bunch of other teams. 1988 Houston, 11-14 with a 3.0 ERA, 207 innings pitched, 127 strikeouts, a 111 ERA plus, and that is good for a WAR of 3.5. Wow.
I'll take that.
I'm getting uncomfortable.
Something pretty funny about Deshaies. In 2001, he ran a tongue-in-cheek campaign urging the Baseball Writers Association of America to elect him to the Hall of Fame. And he achieved his goal of receiving 1 vote.
Who voted for him?
Houston Chronicle writer John Lopez.
He should have it. I'm serious here when John Lopez should have his voting privileges revoked.
You want to give him the 1 vote.
Yeah, but I mean, that's great for Jim to do, for that campaign. But for somebody to waste a vote on a Hall of Fame ballot because of that, I am not down with that. All right, sorry,
folks.
Sorry, Jim. I'm not down with that.
I'm not pleased about it.
All right, next you've got catcher for the White Sox, Bill Lindsay. I am not familiar with Bill.
I don't know Bill Lindsay. Don't know him personally. I don't know anything about him.
Well, you're about to. Let's see. Bill Lindsay, 1 year in the big leagues. That was 1987, so no points there. He was a catcher, appeared in 9 games in 87, hit 188, had an RBI, and an OPS plus of -0.4 and a WAR of -0.1. But you know what? He's got a baseball card, and he played in the big leagues. At one point in 86, he was with the Yankees, and the Yankees sent Bill Lindsay to the White Sox to complete an earlier trade in which the Yankees sent a player to be named later, Ron Hassey, Carlos Martinez, to the White Sox for Ron Kittle, Joel Skinner, and Wayne Tollison. So,
okay.
I mean, there's some good names there that we've talked about. Oh, wow. Get this. In 1984, with the Nashville Sounds, Lindsay caught a no-hitter thrown by Jim, 2 silhouettes on Deshaies.
That's crazy.
That is awesome. I love when we get stuff like that. That is so cool.
That's how it's done, folks. It was totally intentional.
Professional podcasting. We'll see y'all next week. No way. You still
God
got
bless you. Good night.
3 cards left. All right, you're at 13.3. You got a Hall of Famer. I'm a little worried about this. Pitcher, closer for the Cubs. Guy that loved to look after his grounds crew with the slow saunter in from the bullpen. It's Lee Smith.
Oh, man, this could be good.
Should be noted that I just got the Lee Smith Diamond card on MLB The Show for my Diamond Dynasty Club. Love him. Dude, bring him in to close out every game, whether we need it or not. And he is huge. I can't see the batter half of the time from the camera angle in center field in this game because he is so big. It's great. Let's see. Lee Smith, Hall of Famer. Rolaids relief winner 3 times, 7-time All-Star, 18 years in the big leagues, 8 with the Cubs, 4 with the Cardinals, a bunch of other teams. 1988, not an All-Star year. It's his first year in Boston, 4-5 with a 2.8 ERA, 29 saves, 83 innings pitched, 96 strikeouts, a 148 ERA plus. And that is good. Oh, wow. Only 1.3. I guess, we've determined closers usually don't score high.
They don't get the WAR.
Yeah. 1.3, Hall of Famer, and he's got facial hair. So that'll be a 2.4.
Okay, still going in the positive.
Yep, that better than poking the eye with a sharp stick. Oh, wow. So Baseball Reference, they used to do this. You used to be able to sponsor individual pages. Because I sponsored Ricky Anderson's page. My name is still not on Ricky's page, but David L. Fishman, MD, is still on Lee Smith's page, and the message that he posted was, Lee Arthur, get this man to Cooperstown. Don't let another Cub be slighted. Well, he's there, but why is this guy still on the page? Whoa, hey-oh, okay, and there's a link to David L. Fishman, MD's webpage. I'm not going to tell you what the link is, but there is some Asian porn if you follow that link. So you might want to make sure your virus protection is up to par there. Well, nothing that's going to get you any points off the field. We've talked about him before in his great stories of why he took so long to get from the bullpen to the mound, which is awesome. Couldn't do it now because there's the clock, not just the pitch clock, but the clock for people to get to the mound and start the inning. But all right,
yeah, that would be rough for him.
Yeah, it would. You're at 15.7. You've got 2 cards left. I finished with 22.7. So you need 7 just to tie me, but 7.1 to win. Next, you're going to get a catcher here from the Milwaukee Brewers. Good old BJ Surhoff.
I was always a fan of BJ.
I was too. I liked BJ. This back when he was a catcher as well, because he became an outfielder and third baseman a couple of years into his career. You would have gotten extra points here last year, too, because he's got a double flap helmet on. BJ William James Surhoff, 19 years in the big leagues, 9 with Milwaukee, 8 with Baltimore, 3 with Atlanta. 1988 was his second year in the big leagues, 139 games, 245 batting average, 292 on base, 5 home runs, 38 RBI, 21 stolen bases. Wow, he had some wheels back then as a catcher. They probably took him out from behind the plate thinking, well, he can run. And then he did not run after that. 71 OPS plus, and that is good for a WAR of 1.0. He does have real stirrups on, so that will be a 1.1. Overall, first round draft pick. First pick of the 1985 draft by the Brewers.
Nice. Wow, and he was in the bigs by 87.
Off the field, nothing that's going to help you at all. Yeah, member of the Olympic team in 1984. Yeah, that was a good team.
Yeah.
Let's see. So that brings your total up to 16.8. You've got 1 card left. And that card is third baseman for Atlanta, Ken Oberkfell.
Ken Oberkfell card. Yes. I don't think this is going to get me to the top.
I don't think it's going to push you over the top either, but let's take a look anyway. Ken, 16 years in the big leagues, 8 with St. Louis, 5 with Atlanta, 2 with the Bucks and a bunch of other teams. 1988, he split time between Atlanta and Pittsburgh. Let's see, 140 games, 271 average, 321 on base, 3 home runs, 42 RBI, 4 stolen bases. Now, Ken Oberkfell was a bigger guy. How many career stolen bases do you think he racked up?
20.
67. Or I'm sorry, 62.
Really?
Caught 47. So not a great percentage, but he stole almost 20 more bases than he was caught, which I would have never suspected. Overall, a 92 OPS plus for the season. And overall, that is good for a WAR of minus 0.2.
That's not going to win it.
Well, let's take a look at off the field. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he wasn't on Seinfeld, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, or The Simpsons, but let's make sure.
He was on TBS a lot.
Wow, that was good. I really like that.
Thank you.
Oh, I like this. He was part of the Bearded Braves, along with Glenn Hubbard and Bruce Sutter. He told the Houston Chronicle that the Beards make us stand out from the clean-cut Dale Murphy types. Consider us a modern House of David team. Props for him in 1985 of knowing who the House of David was.
No kidding. That's impressive. Of course, our listeners can find we had a show on House of David.
Yep. I don't know. Maybe he was maybe he was Jewish. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him. But nothing that's going to help you there. So that'll be a 16.6 for you. And I'm going to jump out to a lead 2-1. Yay.
Oh, man. We'll see how I perform here under the gun. See, I'm not used to being behind.
Well, remember last season I was ahead until we got to midway point, and then I went into my usual.
I'm just trying to encourage you.
Yeah. Well, there was much rejoicing. 2-1. All right, that's going to wrap up this edition of Wax Packs Heroes. Also going to take us to the end of this episode. We'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks again. Wednesday, I know it's new, but you'll get used to it. If you want more of us, you can always find us on the social medias that we are at 2 Strike Noise, at TWO Strike Noise. Likewise, if you've got the spelling down, Mark has an email address he'd love to tell you about.
You can write to us at 2strikenoise@gmail.com. Sometimes it takes us a little bit to get back to you, but we will get back to you.
Mark likes it when I spell it out before he does, because then he doesn't have to spell.
TWO Strike Noise.
Yes, he doesn't spell strike noise because it's hard. No. But anyway, thank you everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. We did. Well, we're going to come back. Let's do it again next week. Let's do it on another episode of 2 Strike Noise.
Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day.